Hey, what's going on, guys? It's David here from Genzio. We're in Singapore for Token2049. I'm here with Arthur, the founder of Tezos. Arthur, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Day one of Singapore, Token2049.
Yeah.
Hectic, but somewhat of like controlled chaos, right? Which is a good thing.
I suppose so. I think a lot of, maybe perhaps our industry is about controlled chaos. You know, you have a decentralized blockchain. It's very chaotic. You have it's like herding cats. You try to make something out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Now, we've been having a lot of interviews with you guys back and forth, and wanted to just get a quick update on some of the milestones and where you guys are at in this current state.
Well, lots of things happening on a Tezos network. On the core side, the core being, the underlying gears, how the blockchain works. There's been a lot of progress on the layer one with a reduction in the block time, more efficiency, more participation of the staker. The staking economics changed last year on Tezos, and so the amount that's stake has dramatically raised since then, and keeps raising. It's also been a march towards a version of Tezos that we like to call Tezos X, which essentially packs a lot of computing power into one big rollup. So instead of having many rollups that can't really talk to each other very well, I mean they can, but it's clumsy. Or instead of having like one big layer one, but then you need to like spend $1 million a year to run a validator, you keep your blockchain very lean, focus on staking, focus on consensus, on decentralization, and being very secure, and you push the compute into one big vertically scaled rollup. So we call it sometimes modulithic, like modular and monolithic. So that's been a big push. That's on the development side. And what we hope to see out of Tezos X is extreme performance, millions of transactions per second, but also support for mainstream programming languages like JavaScript, Python, and more. And then on the application side, it's been exciting to watch more applications being built on Etherlink, which is our EVM compatibility layer on Tezos. So it looks like an Ethereum chain to wallets and exchanges and others, but it's backed by the security of the Tezos chain. And we've seen AAA games built on Etherlink, like Reaper Actual, which is launching soon. We're also, I've seen tokenized uranium. So on uranium.io, you can actually go and buy tokenized uranium. If you want to buy physical uranium, that is a place. And as well as growing DeFi activity with the TVL going in the past few months from 0 to over 60 million on Etherlink.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. It really is. Now, I got to ask, why was it important to build a live uranium spot price feed?
Yeah, so on uranium.io, you get to buy and sell tokenized uranium. That's great. And recently, we also launched a price feed. Now, what is that? Well, there's a spot market for uranium, but it's not very transparent. You get like price reports sometimes once a day, and people are trading in giant blocks of several of millions of dollars. If you want to, the goal of uranium.io is to have a really liquid spot market for uranium. And you need that if you want to build other things. You want to build an ETF for uranium, you need a liquid spot market. You want to build derivatives, you need a liquid spot market. It's very important to have that. Now, how do you bootstrap it? Well, you can get people interested in trading it, but then if you're a market maker in that market, you want to know what the price is. And there's a lot of securities out there which do have a link to uranium. So for instance, the Sprott Trust, it's a fund that you can buy and sell on the Toronto Stock Exchange and on the US Stock Exchange. It doesn't really track uranium because there's a fund manager who can decide to buy or sell. So its price sometimes is like at a big premium or discount to NAV, but it's still will correlate with uranium. And then you have uranium mining stocks, and then you have uranium power plant stocks. If you look at all this and use statistical models, you can kind of infer what might be the underlying price of uranium. And using all this information plus information that comes from the existing spot market, you start to be able to infer a price. Now, if you use that price and you inject that price in your stock market, you can build more liquidity. As you build more liquidity, you build more price discovery, and you have a little bit of a flywheel where you can actually build the spot market. So that's why it's important.
How do you see the uranium market evolving today?
I think it's still quiet. It's very much a market today that's dominated by the producers and the consumers.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true of the of other markets. If you look at the oil market, there's a lot of participation in the oil market that doesn't necessarily come from producer or consumers, but from speculation. And the speculation helps the price discovery. I think that's an important bit. So you'll see a lot of hedge funds take large positions in oil futures. They don't produce oil, they don't intend to take delivery on oil, but perhaps they have view on geopolitics. And in doing so, they help price the market. So I think that's what's not currently happening sufficiently on the uranium markets, and I think will become more and more important as nuclear becomes more relevant.
Okay. And how does the current state of the market in general affect Tezos, for example?
A lot of people who would trade these coins tend to trade them in baskets.
Mm-hmm.
And so perhaps there's this perception of like, oh, Tezos is this 2017 vintage. And so you can see it in the correlation. It's if you want to be quantitative about it, you can actually look at the covariance metrics of the whole crypto market and see what moves with what. And you definitely have if you decompose the factors that move the market, the biggest factor is a market factor, right? If sometimes when things go up in general, people will buy more. And then if you look at beyond this factor, you'll typically have a Bitcoin versus rest of the world factor. So sometimes everything goes up, but it's like, but Bitcoin more and the rest less. Or sometimes Bitcoin will go up, the rest will go down and such. So you have these movements. And then the third movement might be majors versus alts and such. So like we are affected by these factors, of course. And then there's idiosyncratic factors, which is like anything happening in a Tezos ecosystem that might bring attention to Tezos or not. But by and large, I would say it's driven by the overall market.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, what is next for Tezos?
What's next for Tezos? Well, delivering on Tezos X, it's a very exciting roadmap, technologically speaking, but it'll be even more exciting to see it live. And I would say about like half of this roadmap has been delivered so far. Mm-hmm. So it's very much on the way with the new staking model, with having rollups, with having a data availability sampling layer. So all of that has been put in place. There's still a bit more to be done. That's on the technological side. On the application side, I like to think of Tezos as scaling without compromise. That's the idea behind Tezos X. We want scale. We don't want to compromise decentralization for applications that matters.
Yeah.
And so I think that something like a uranium market is something that really matters. It's a crucially important commodity. There's a lack of marketplaces for it. So that's important, and that's something we want to see on Tezos. But things that matters don't necessarily have to be very serious and businessy. I think video games, they're great, but they matter in a sense that people want to play video games, and there's an actual benefit to using this. So not self-referential games.
Well, I'll tell you what, for me, for example, I have a hard time playing video games for this very reason right there. I don't really gain anything out of it. And so this idea of being able to incentivize playing the game actually is attracting somebody like myself who maybe doesn't really want to play games often.
Yeah, and again, you have to be thoughtful here. I think that's what a lot of things with play to earn miss is it needs to be makes the game more fun. Yeah. Now, there are games where you can win money and which makes the game more fun. If you play poker, if you try to remove the money from poker, it's not fun.
It's not fun, yeah.
And if you add the money, it makes it fun. But you look at something like Axie Infinity, the money does not make the game more fun. This is just multi-level marketing. Yeah. So, short multi-level marketing games and long games where there's, an actual value for the user, either created by the user or received by the user.
Okay, cool. Now I have to ask you personally, what has been the best part of this journey for you?
I think seeing things happen, seeing things go from ideas to realization. Yeah. I remember when Tezos was just an idea, and
Right on that drawing board.
seeing it now having with hundreds and hundreds of millions of transactions later, tens of millions of accounts. Like this is it's been a thing to watch.
Yeah. Like I said, from the drawing board to real life.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. That truly is. Now, for any insight for people on the outside looking in that maybe want to attend Token, for example, we're here right now, and maybe you're not interested or don't know anything about blockchain in general or in anything, what would you tell them?
I mean, it depends what they're interested into. That's the saying is like if they are engineers who are like, I'm very curious about how these systems work. That's one thing, and I think there's a lot of really fascinating literature on the topic. If they're saying like, hey, this is crypto, I hear it can make money. That's a totally valid point of view and a totally valid topic. And there's definitely things to avoid and things which are more interesting. So I would say it depends where they're coming from.
Yeah.
If they're curious about the way it might transform society, I think everyone kind of brings their own expectations to this and interest.
That is the truth. That is the truth. Well, Arthur, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Everybody go give them a follow. Tezos, they're doing great stuff. Arthur, appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a good one.